justice. In our fight for liberation as both black and queer, who's contributed greatly to the advancement of a more perfect union, not just for me, but for the thousands and the millions of free thought believers of humanity, freedom, justice, and above all, love, isn't actualized in its current state, and it's not, then we must act out our liberation in the streets. The best any of us can act on is our conscience that can sift through and call out the unconscionable, whether here in America, history within a system sweltering in an unyielding, salacious, direct racism of white America and its government that now for centuries have stripped the very real lives of American blacks by torture, noosing us, hanging and burning by tree, bartering and trying to justify with erroneous laws that God made man in caste and gave those white ruling authority over Africans who with only open arms allowed Europeans to eat, clean, celebrate, barter, and rest among African royalty. Yet these King George rejects, looking for a new place to call home, had mischief in mind and stole, never to return, back home to the motherland, African men, women, and children. Yet us blacks, our resiliency, our building of America, our beauty, our body, our skin hues, our humanity far exceeds white supremacy based in a socially constructed lie that racism is based on skin hues. But who claims that kind of discriminate hatred towards the people consciously how could you factually exhaust all your time, offer up your children to the breast and the arms of a beautiful black sister to love and nurture a gift she knows is from God? What then do you name it? Has the tradition of unthinkable vile malevolence on and to my people be overridden by how strong our backs are, how large our hands are, and when stretched open, we widen our reach, how deep our eyes when pontificating on ideas and dreams. Oh, we sweet minds. Or is it our might with no punches thrown that frightens you? How? Did your forefathers not tell you of valor, not show you the light? Was it missed, never known? I know our ancestors past and present has paved a difficult journey of triumph and faith, despite America's white settlers raised in our undeniable self-awareness of African parables we live by and fight to defend. There is nothing to fear but fear itself. To the racist, the bigot, the xenophobe, the technocrat, the daily assassins in the name of family or country, your inhumane deeds and lack of humanity because y'all care less about the matter of decency, regard, and respect for a fellow being, by the very assertion deems you all incompatible with the ideals of greatness in and outside of mind, body, and with spirit. Our moral ground supersedes persons who can't appreciate beauty or lacks the ability to see their own self-worth, deeming persons of self-deprecation a threat to humanity herself. If you can't value one's own beauty, then you know not what beauty is, even looking at it head on. Family, my beauty, the beauty of our sons and daughters has been sought after, appraised, and undermined by the darkness looming in the hearts of men and women who seek to, like a pack of hyenas, calculating the kill of coyote mom's newborn litter, destroy all beauty. These humanly creatures lavishly lust on people's vulnerabilities, finding their own power then in others' weaknesses, and furthermore, their beauty of kindness then use as a weakness to plan the killings authored by white supremacists. I have, over the last 6 years, come to surely know, as many of you bear witness to my posts, emails, and calls, that big business and agency within our state, local, and federal government, due to white backlash, quid pro quo deals between white racists and south of the border immigrant gangs, as well as undocumented migrants and Asian Americans, all got together to lead a charge against me, us blacks, to be carried out here on American soil of electronic fiber optic technology through submission and drugging of some of us blacks, most vulnerable members of our community in the era of black genocide. Yet I know, we all know history, and none of us can maintain our safeties if any of us can't. I need you all to advocate and help me before it's too late. I'm afraid they'll unalive me, hide my remains, and employ the next phase of Operation Dead Man, though thought to be alive by family and friends, social media presence, ran by AI in an attempt to bamboozle and deceive my family and friends to believe I'm somehow alive, following my dreams, living in Hollywood, a bold-faced lie. I've been secretly filmed while actually trying to aid from LAPD to Skid Row, LA Community Action Network, while at police station trying to file a police report. Paid actors show up in LAPD uniforms and fake guns behind the Olympic Station counter, role playing with a real attempt to deny me a simple police report. It corroborates my actual real experience of being stalked, hate crimes against, and Westar Property Management and Alvarado Valley LLC, who has explicitly breached our contract agreement by placing me in harm's way by giving who I believe are undercover government agents keys and full access to my unit without my knowledge. A government ran and funded operation who has been planting fake evidence, storing my DNA from toothbrush to underwear as they create and build a fake criminal case against me to try and break me in hopes that I stop fighting for my justice, for exposing government corruption of war against Black America, and plot on Facebook Live from 2019 to 2020, capturing their ground strategy to build an army of poor Black gay cyborgs equipped with body-infused technologies intravenously put in after being drugged and waking up unaware of the lapse of time of the technologies now living inside of us. And Project 180 case management for continuously dropping the ball time and time again with my case. I've been watched and followed and then stalked by unknown men and women, almost always carrying and looking like hired hitmen. And you all become even more worried and woed, asking yourself, I know what I'm witnessing, but clueless as to why. But you all then think about the gay stud you met on a dating site who drugged and left you to never be seen again. Must be involved in the unexplained events that began after you all's interactions. Hear me. Since, the, since this occurred, I've spoken to several of my Black gay friends, and we share similar stories about meeting a hot Black gay stud offline who then drugged them only after wearily asking you, have you given your life to God? Similar stories, though we all reside in different states. A coincidence of something well planned and well organized by our government to ethically cleanse the gay Black brother and sister from the Black family and community. And I think it's both for money, but more eye-opening, it's another attempt to reduce Black men as a whole from walking, living, and breathing on American soil. Again, I am terribly afraid because now I know no one prepared me or any of we about this government secret street operation. Where do you turn when you know your government from law enforcement to first responders are on board and know the signs of someone who has been, in my terms, captured? Many have no access or funds to and for lawyers, nor family or friends who can look after you, so the streets are the seemingly only option available. Thinking, maybe if I go underground or off the grid, I can lose the tracking. I've tried. You can't shake them. Strangers will walk past you and whisper your name or recite your last conversation. And no, you're not losing it, but then you think, how did they gain access to my mobile device? And then you'll know government subpoena was produced to pry into all your electronic communications. But why? You know you've broken no laws warranted any kind of federal criminal investigation. And then if you're knowledgeable, you'll remember the 1960s and J. Edgar Hoover wrote in his FBI briefing, never allow a black messiah to rise, because then all blacks will rise. As if our government should stop and intervene with American progress. And then you'll say, genocidal racist just government against its own citizens. And then again, you'll get spooked and start checking your surroundings. And when you feel like it's all right to move, you'll move so silently by, around, and over people who look just like you. And then without a doubt, you come to understand that this effort to play human demigods and project fear, forced scarcity, and subjugation in a Hollywood box office hit, simply cashing in and sharing in any and all intellectual property, innovations, and body parts that cities scoop up when their lifeless bodies finally gives out. Many with no family, connections, no wills, no homes, no ID, no nothing. I bear witness to this strategy all throughout this country, from New York to Orlando to Chicago, where it happened to me in 2019, to now while living in Hollywood, Los Angeles, what I deemed as the epicenter of Black American genocide. Explaining the 9-month false imprisonment from August of 2021 to 2022 in LA County Jail under a false name, Michael Lockhart, was tricked by city public offenders to, in collusion with sheriff's department and courts, then placed in mental health court, thereby criminally undermining due process and my rights, including the right to an attorney and competency to stand trial. A ruse, a moneymaker, a whimsical real-life corruption scheme on the part of intergovernmental agencies, NGOs, and mental health practitioners to dissolve us not only of our constitutional rights, yet even more, far more and unconscionable, our human rights, which no man can give nor take away. Why me, you may ask? It's an account of all of the 40% of Black homeless population in LA, yet Blacks only account for 4% of the state's total population. I know, we know, but now I'm bearing witness to this firsthand. Since May of 2024, when I moved into my government assisted living housing program, has experienced at least 7 deliberate poison attacks from KFC in Koreatown to other places. Even in my home, because Weststar Property Management and Alvarado Valley LLC has colluded with these above-mentioned actors, giving now twice to different sets of my apartment keys, allowing these Mexican immigrants, possibly undocumented, to plant contraband and likely scrub my toothbrush for DNA, building a false but healthy mental health case against me. Why does this make sense? On February 12, 2025, I was unlawfully arrested at LA County City Council meeting for protesting against government-funded employees and a white supremacist government filled with employees performing gang activity on taxpayers' dimes. Even as alarming as everybody is aware of how Hollywood elites do business, it's nothing new. Look at this history of Hollywood and white actors wearing black faces, portraying blacks as simps, maids, showmen, bums, and prostitutes. Hollywood is built on racism, and it is alive and well. But if you were just walking around, yes, you'd notice on Skid Row the streets paved of tents, but all else would be to fit for a director's cut in a movie thriller, because it actually is live. The city is filled with extras, mostly Mexicans, white, and white and Mexican trans men with medium to low incomes willing to act out. This includes the LAPD. And whites ignore, like me, who's having a real life experience being recorded from eyes to transit cameras to LAPD helicopters. For months, I couldn't put all the pieces together because this is these sociopaths regular and daily act out scenarios live on city streets. They're just acting out their parts while snagging a few extra actors' coins to the detriment of us who have fall victim to what can only be described as a government homegrown terrorist group. The rich stay high up in hills or gated communities while the soul of the city of Los Angeles are living vicariously through the post screens, fashion fades, and medium of Hollywood's men and women A-listers. I didn't know when I was drugged by a gay porn star in Chicago back in 2019 that he was only a cog in the wheel in this systemic, well-organized strategy of white races to maintain power over blacks and fear in this systemic and fear over the Latino and immigrant populations throughout this country. You see, during this time, during this time, I live recorded many of these unexplained happenings, including Chicago police white flight flash that expanded like 20 feet wide and very bright because it could be seen during daylight. Chicago police Italian gangs had trailed me on Greyhound bus from Milwaukee to Chicago in June of 2019. I, out of safety concerns for my family, left the residence headed back to Baltimore. I have falsely been arrested from 2019 to 2025 at least 17 times with only one minor contact infraction at a grocer in D.C. Really an attempt of these countrywide white racist police gangs, many of the January 6th insurrectionists, who many were retired cops and armed forcemen who undermined the law, planted illegal drugs or weapons on scared and poor people for forced cooperation of these disenfranchised members of society, which now by the same description and tactics deemed poor, living below the national poverty line. I've went to all local, state, and federal agencies, including the FBI, CIA, DHS, all said they could do nothing at all to help me. What I thought, government corruption doesn't fall under the guidelines of a national security threat, apparently not during all of my attempts, but it's all documented. If not, need I say more? I know if the white nationalists deny the black and poor American experience, then surely they are either complicit or compliant in this national proxy war funded by big tech, like SoftBank and others. I've done my best to get the word out. I even reached out to the America's United Nations Ambassador's Office and never got a response. Google doing business with the federal government with a $10 billion infrastructure government contract bid awarded to Google are fast speed ahead, even in this exact moment, erasing, copying, infringing, sharing my personal data with civilians who are a part of this regime, to include my place of residency, to include Google erased about 850 Google contacts with the attempt to isolate me from my personal friends, another strategy to isolate and alienate me from my professional life and accomplishments. The federal government has given the go-ahead to not only dumping me, but railroading me into a life of poverty, state-sanctioned funded torment, crafted mental health prognoses, and stealing, again, all of my constitutional privileges, like the right to bear arms and stand trial. I know this state-funded secrecy mission is known to a very few selected white racist government agents, I can confirm when I was living in an abandoned house in Baltimore as blacks run the city government, this government sanctioned militia purposely averted checking in with the Baltimore local government in the attempt to keep many city black leadership who I know since I ran for city council in District 6 in 2018 from the government ruled government domestic terrorism attack on her black citizens to suppress, oppress, and willingly kill in order to protect and hide its illegal, unconstitutional military style coup of me, a political operative, and maintain power. Could you imagine this media coverage and talks about civil illegal surveillance and privacy rights being stripped out from Americans' noses? No, that ain't right. This reminds me of the 1960s FBI COINTELPRO operations investigations and wiretapping into black freedom fighters groups like the Black Panthers, Huey P. Newton, Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, and Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King, who stood, protested, denounced, and called out America's criminal justice system, racially biased policies, and practices that disproportionately impacted poor black and communities of color, along with others. This systemically divided black families and communities of color as a way to keep us blacks in single family homes and poverty stricken socioeconomic status. And now, the Willie Lynch syndrome to divide and conquer playbook stands alive and well. Just look out over the last 20 years, and the facts and evidence is blatantly clear. We all should be tracking the explicit policies that are turning back the clock of decades of social progress, where many of our ancestors paid for with their lives and their dollars. And this is an attempt of white America to halt progress and try to return us blacks back to a time before 1954, a bold slap in our faces. And for what? Well, I'll tell you. Simply due to pure denial of acknowledging and refusal to correct the wrongs of America's dark, explicit, legally funded government policies and agencies coup against blacks to socially, economically pigeonhole us in a lower class altogether, thereby denying us full citizen rights and protections. And now they are at it again. Same tactics with different tools. Starting with poor, disenfranchised gay black brothers and sisters. Far worse, they have concluded that other blacks and religious organizations will turn a blind eye to this new country. America has never cashed our check from her legacy of slavery, public lynchings, Jim Crow South, over incarceration of black men, community surveillance, and over policing in communities of color. I've contacted the NAACP headquarters in Baltimore, and they only referred me to LA's offices. But the problem is when I called the secretary, she informed me very reluctantly that the director wasn't in and that they did really no indoor services, nor were they in the office 5 days a week. But she assured me she would deliver my message. And to be honest, my phone calls for months have been rerouted, my, my voice being recorded, even in my sleep. She would deliver my message, she said. And to be honest, my phone calls for months have been rerouted, my voice being recorded, even in my sleep. The neighbors, a young black couple, complicit and engaged in Bluetooth and sensory control of my devices because only 2 feet separate my bedroom from their living room. I have to try to escape the city. I tried twice, once at the Greyhound downtown, but was attacked by none other than a black young male security guard working for Allied Security. I'm lost for words. I'm on high alert. I'm very calm and clear that I exposed Chicago law enforcement, LAPD, and other city government agencies refusing to take a police report for me after asking not to state my name and address out loud so that other patrons wouldn't hear the details of what clearly has been a level of well-organized government criminal attack. When truth is staring you directly in your face and all the signs lead to constitutional dumping, there are professionals who help create hysteria around us vulnerable, now being victimized citizens. They, LAPD, has been building a fraudulent, compromising character assassination case against me. And that scares me. I have not only been jailed under a false name again for 9 months in LA County Jail under the name Michael Lockhart in August 2021, specifically a 2022 charge of gassing an officer. I had no idea what that meant. I asked the officer to please explain. She said, because of a prior arrest where it stated you gassed, meaning shitted at an officer, you are subjected to a strip search. And I was butt naked in front of 7 men and women and trans officers. Funny thing, I never was arrested because it never occurred. A false police report. February 12th of 2025, while protesting homelessness rights, was told to quiet down. I complied, but wrestled to the ground still after asking why house me in a pod if this protesting exhibition would only keep me there for a few hours. But no concern for my serious question to add, the LAPD denied a call to an attorney's office and a personal one as well. A clear violation of constitutional rights and state law. My phone broke today, and whomever is monitoring my electronic devices are transmitting messages to a wide range of misfits, manics, and murderers. If you can't believe this, just check out the hundreds of unsolved murders, particularly here in LA. Here's what is vital to aiding my proxy us captured. 1. Share this story with a trusted, mentally strong person. 2. Contact an attorney as soon as possible, and please provide a retainer fee for legal representation against government agencies in your local jurisdiction. Everybody that looks like you ain't for you. 3. Contact media, a trusted investigative journalist, as well as Roland Martin Unfiltered on YouTube. 4. Store these communications offline. 5. Inform the United Nations Central Council of America's domestic genocide of its black citizens. 6. Pray for peace and protection. 7. Have an exit strategy to a safe space. 8. Do your due diligence, not at all on Google, but maybe like duckduckgo.com. 9. Know you are compromised with this communication, so do not respond. 10. I won't be calling you because I have no working phone. 11. No local and state and federal elected officials are very aware. Trust, I've called many of them and they will not help. This is gone offline and we still ain't free. This is Anthony Out Loud. Take care and be safe.